Ryan stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror of his $50 million mansion. At 34, he was one of the youngest tech billionaires in the country, but right now he felt completely lost. His expensive suit hung perfectly on his shoulders. His Rolex caught the light just right, and his hair was styled to perfection. Everything about him screamed money and success, and that was exactly the problem. "Daddy, are you coming? We're gonna be late." 6-year-old Lucy called from downstairs, her voice echoing through the marble hallways. "Yeah, Dad, hurry up. I'm hungry." Her twin brother Max added with the impatience only a 6-year-old could manage. Ryan took a deep breath. Tonight was supposed to be different. His sister had been nagging him for months about this blind date. "She's perfect for you," she had insisted. "Kate's a kindergarten teacher, loves kids, and she's nothing like those other women you've dated." Those other women. Ryan's jaw tightened as he thought about them. The Instagram models who only wanted to be seen at expensive restaurants. The socialites who measured his worth by the size of his yacht. The gold diggers who suddenly became interested in children when they found out he was a single father. None of them had lasted more than a few weeks. None of them had really cared about Lucy and Max. The twins had been asking the same question for months now. "When are we getting a new mommy?" It broke his heart every time. Their mother had passed away when they were just 2 years old, and Ryan had been raising them alone ever since. Well, alone with the help of 3 nannies, a chef, a driver, and more household staff than he cared to count. Walking down the grand staircase, Ryan found the twins waiting by the front door. Lucy wore her favorite pink dress with sparkly shoes, and Max had on his button-up shirt that he claimed made him look super handsome. They both had their mother's bright green eyes and Ryan's dark hair. "Daddy, do you think Miss Kate will like us?" Lucy asked, tugging on his expensive pants. "What if she thinks we're weird?" Max added, looking worried. Ryan knelt down to their level, his heart aching at their innocent concerns. "Hey, you two are the most amazing kids in the world. If she doesn't like you, then she's not the right person for us, okay?" But as he said those words, a crazy idea started forming in his mind. What if for once he could meet someone without all the money getting in the way? What if he could find out if someone would like him and the twins just for who they really were, not what they had? "Actually, guys, I have an idea," Ryan said slowly. "How about we play a little game tonight?" "What kind of game?" Lucy asked, her eyes lighting up. "Well, what if we pretend that Daddy doesn't have a lot of money? What if we pretend we're just a regular family?" Max wrinkled his nose. "But why would we do that?" "Because," Ryan said, thinking fast, "sometimes people act differently when they know someone has money."
"I want Miss Kate to like us for who we are inside, not because of our big house or fancy cars." The twins looked at each other and shrugged.
To them, it was just another fun game. 20 minutes later, Ryan pulled up to his company's maintenance building in a beat-up pickup truck he'd borrowed from Tom, the head of facilities. He'd changed into old jeans, a worn t-shirt, and work boots. His expensive watch was safely hidden in his pocket, replaced by a cheap digital one from the convenience store. "This truck is bumpy," Lucy giggled as they drove toward the restaurant. "And it smells funny," Max added, holding his nose dramatically. Ryan had chosen a family restaurant called Danny's Diner on the other side of town. It was the kind of place where kids could be loud. The food was good but simple, and nobody would recognize him. As they walked in, he felt more nervous than he had before any business presentation. Kate was already waiting at a corner booth, and Ryan's breath caught in his throat. She wasn't the polished, perfect type he usually dated. Her brown hair was in a simple ponytail. She wore a casual blue sweater and jeans, and she was reading a children's book while she waited. When she looked up and smiled, her whole face lit up. "You must be Ryan," she said, standing up. "And these must be the famous twins I've heard so much about." "I'm Lucy," his daughter announced proudly. "And this is Max. He's my brother, but he's not older than me. We're twins." "We came out at the same time," Max explained seriously. "But I came out first, so I'm technically older. Only by 2 minutes." Lucy protested. Kate laughed, and it was the most genuine sound Ryan had heard in months. "Well, it's very nice to meet both of you. Should we sit down and look at the menu?" As they slid into the booth, Ryan felt a pang of guilt about his deception. Kate seemed so natural with the kids, asking them about school and their favorite subjects. When the waitress came over, Kate ordered a simple burger and helped the twins decide between chicken fingers and pizza. "So," Kate said, turning to Ryan, Your sister mentioned you're between jobs right now? Ryan's stomach twisted. This was it. The moment he had to commit to the lie. Yeah, I've been looking for the right opportunity. It's been tough with the kids, you know. I want to make sure I'm around for them. Kate nodded understandingly. That must be really challenging. Being a single parent is hard enough without worrying about work, too. Daddy used to have a really good job. Lucy chimed in innocently. But now he stays home with us more. Ryan quickly changed the subject. What about you? Do you like teaching? Kate's eyes absolutely glowed when she talked about her kindergarten class. She told them about Tommy, who was learning to read, and Maria, who drew the most amazing pictures, and how she stayed after school every day to help kids who needed extra attention. I also volunteer at a children's charity on weekends, she said. We run an after-school program for kids whose parents work late. It's amazing what these kids can do when someone just believes in them. Max was building a tower out of sugar packets while Lucy colored on her kids' menu. They both seemed completely comfortable with Kate, which was unusual. The twins were typically shy around new people. When their food arrived, Kate immediately helped Lucy cut her chicken fingers and reminded Max to use his napkin. She didn't do it in a bossy way, but like someone who genuinely cared. Ryan watched in amazement as she naturally fell into a rhythm with his children. This place is nice, Kate said, looking around the diner. I love restaurants like this. They feel so real and welcoming. Ryan almost choked on his burger. If she only knew about the 5-star restaurants he usually frequented, with their tiny portions and pretentious presentations. So tell me about yourself, Ryan, Kate said. What kind of work are you looking for? Panic flashed through him for a moment. Well, I have experience in technology, but really I just want something that lets me be there for Lucy and Max. They're the most important thing in my life. Kate smiled softly. That's really sweet. A lot of parents say their kids are important, but you can tell you really mean it. The way you look at them, the way you listen to them, it's special. During dinner, something magical happened. Kate wasn't trying to impress anyone. She wasn't checking her phone or worried about how she looked. She was completely present, asking the twins about their favorite games and sharing funny stories from her classroom. When Max spilled ketchup on his shirt, she cleaned it up without making a big deal about it. When Lucy got tired and cranky, Kate suggested they play a quiet game of tic-tac-toe on the napkin. As they prepared to leave, Ryan reached for his wallet, then remembered his role. Would it be okay if we split the check? Things are a little tight right now. Of course, Kate said immediately. Actually, let me get it. I asked you out, remember? No, I can't let you do that, Ryan protested, feeling terrible. How about this, Kate suggested with a smile. You can get it next time. If there is a next time, I mean. The twins were practically bouncing with excitement. There's gonna be a next time. There's gonna be a next time, they chanted. Walking them to the parking lot, Kate stopped when she saw the old pickup truck. Is this yours? She asked, but not in a judgmental way. More like she was genuinely curious. Yeah. It's not much, but it gets us where we need to go, Ryan said, feeling more guilty by the minute. I think it's perfect, Kate said, and she actually seemed to mean it. It has character. Lucy hugged Kate goodbye, and Max gave her a high five. As Ryan was about to start the truck, Kate knocked on his window. I had a really wonderful time tonight, she said. Your kids are absolutely amazing, and I can see why. You're a great dad, Ryan. As they drove away, Ryan caught Kate watching them in his rearview mirror, waving until they turned the corner. I like her. Daddy, Lucy announced from the back seat. Me too, Max agreed. She's nice. And she didn't try to talk to us like we're babies. Ryan smiled, but his heart felt heavy. Kate was everything he had hoped for and more. She was kind, genuine, wonderful with his children, and she seemed to like him for who he was as a person, not what he could buy her. But how long could he keep up this lie? And what would happen when she found out the truth? 3 weeks had passed since that first dinner at Danny's diner, and Ryan found himself living a double life he never could have imagined. Every morning he'd drop the twins off at their expensive private school in his regular luxury car, spend his day running a billion-dollar company from his glass office on the 40th floor, then change clothes in his office bathroom and pick up Tom's old pickup truck to become struggling single dad Ryan for Kate. It was getting harder each day, but it was also the happiest he'd been in years. Miss Kate is coming over tonight, Lucy announced as Ryan buckled her into the truck after school. She'd started calling Kate Miss Kate from day one, and it had stuck. "I know, sweetheart. Are you excited?" Ryan asked, adjusting the rearview mirror. He'd gotten used to driving the old truck, though it still felt strange after years of being driven around in his Tesla. "I drew her a picture of our family," Max said proudly, holding up a crayon drawing. "Look, there's you, me, Lucy, and Miss Kate. We're all holding hands." Ryan's heart clenched as he looked at the drawing. In Max's innocent artwork, they looked like a perfect little family. But it was all built on a lie. Kate had suggested cooking dinner at her apartment tonight. "It'll be more relaxed for the kids," she'd said. "Plus, I make a mean spaghetti and meatballs." Ryan had tried to insist on taking them out again, worried about her spending money on groceries, but Kate had been firm. "Let me do this," she'd said with that warm smile. "I want to." Kate's apartment was nothing like Ryan's mansion, but somehow it felt more like home. It was small and cozy, with bookshelves covering every wall and children's artwork taped to the refrigerator. The furniture was clearly second-hand, but everything was clean and welcoming. The smell of homemade sauce filled the air. "Welcome to my humble castle," Kate said, opening the door with flour on her apron and a bright smile on her face. The twins rushed in like they owned the place. Over the past few weeks, they'd become completely comfortable with Kate, and she with them. She'd learned that Lucy loved to help cook, and Max preferred to set the table. She knew that Lucy was afraid of loud noises, and Max needed an extra hug when he was tired. "Can I help with the meatballs?" Lucy asked immediately. "Of course. I was hoping you'd ask," Kate replied, lifting Lucy up to stand on a chair next to the counter. "Max, would you like to help your dad set the table? The plates are in that cabinet." As they worked together in the tiny kitchen, Ryan marveled at how natural this felt. Kate moved around efficiently but never rushed. She praised Lucy's uneven meatballs like they were masterpieces and thanked Max every time he placed a fork correctly. "So how was the job search this week?" Kate asked casually as she stirred the sauce. Ryan's stomach dropped. He'd forgotten about his supposed unemployment. "Oh, you know, still looking. Had a few interviews, but nothing concrete yet." It wasn't technically a lie. He had been in several meetings this week, including one where they discussed acquiring a smaller tech company for $200 million. But that probably wasn't what Kate meant. "I might have an idea," Kate said carefully. "My friend David runs a small IT company downtown. Nothing fancy, but they're looking for someone part-time. The pay isn't amazing, but the hours are flexible, and you could pick up the twins from school every day." Ryan felt sick. Here was Kate, trying to help him find work, having no idea that he probably made more money in an hour than her friend's entire company made in a year. That's really thoughtful of you," he managed. "I'll think about it." During dinner, Kate told them about her day at school. She had this way of making even the smallest moments sound important. She talked about how little Amy had finally learned to tie her shoes, and how Ben had shared his snack with a classmate who'd forgotten lunch money. "I love my kids," she said, referring to her students. "Some people think kindergarten is just babysitting, but these little ones are learning so much every day. They're like little sponges." "Miss Kate," Lucy said suddenly, "do you get paid a lot for being a teacher?" Kate laughed. "Well, I get paid enough to buy groceries and pay my rent. Teaching isn't about the money, sweetheart. It's about helping kids learn and grow. Our daddy always says money isn't the most important thing, too," Max added helpfully. Ryan nearly choked on his spaghetti. If only they knew. After dinner, while the twins watched a movie on Kate's small TV, she and Ryan cleaned up together. The kitchen was so tiny they kept bumping into each other, laughing every time. "I'm sorry the apartment is so small," Kate said as they washed dishes. "I know it's not much compared to what you're probably used to." "Are you kidding?" Ryan said, and for once he was being completely honest. "This place feels more like home than anywhere I've lived in years." Kate smiled and bumped his shoulder playfully. "You say the sweetest things." As they finished up, Kate's phone rang. She glanced at it and frowned. "I'm sorry, I need to take this. It's about the charity program." Ryan listened as Kate talked to someone about their after-school program running out of funding. Her voice was strained, and he could tell she was trying not to cry. "How much do we need?" she was asking. 50,000? By next month? But we have 30 kids in the program. Where are they going to go?" When she hung up, Kate sat down heavily at her small kitchen table. "Everything okay?" Ryan asked gently. "The charity I volunteer for is losing funding," Kate explained, wiping her eyes. "We run an after-school program for kids whose parents work late shifts. It's the only safe place these kids have to go after school. But our main donor pulled out, and we need $50,000 by next month or we'll have to shut down. $50,000. Ryan probably spent more than that on wine in a month. He could write a check right now and solve this problem instantly. His fingers itched to pull out his phone and call his assistant. I'm sorry, Kate continued. I know you have your own problems to worry about. I shouldn't be dumping this on you. No, it's okay, Ryan said quickly. I wish I could help. Maybe I could ask around. See if anyone knows someone who might be interested in donating. Kate's face lit up. Really? That would be amazing. Even if it's just spreading the word, every little bit helps. Later that evening, as Ryan drove the twins home in the borrowed truck, his phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and saw it was Mike, his business partner and best friend. Hey Mike, what's up? Ryan answered, putting the phone on speaker since the twins were half asleep in the back. Ryan, we need to talk about the Henderson deal. They're willing to go up to $800 million, but they want an answer by tomorrow morning. This could be the biggest acquisition we've ever made. Ryan's blood ran cold. $800 million. He was discussing an $800 million deal while sitting in a beat-up pickup truck, pretending to be unemployed. Mike, can I call you back? I'm driving right now. Sure thing. But Ryan, this is huge. We're talking about doubling our market presence. The board is excited. After hanging up, Ryan caught Max looking at him curiously in the rearview mirror. Daddy, what's an acquisition? Max asked sleepily. It's when one company buys another company, Ryan explained carefully. Like when you buy toys, Lucy mumbled. Sort of, sweetheart. But for grown-ups. That man said $800 million, Max said. That's a lot of money. Ryan's heart pounded. He was probably talking about something else, buddy. Maybe he said 800 million pennies. But Max was smart, even at 6 years old. Daddy, why would anyone count pennies in millions? Fortunately, both twins fell asleep before Ryan had to answer. But the question haunted him as he drove through the city. The contrast between his two worlds was becoming impossible to ignore. On one side, he had business deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. On the other, he had Kate, who was heartbroken about not being able to raise $50,000 for kids who needed help. The next day, Kate surprised him by showing up at the park where he often took the twins after school. She was carrying a small bag and looked excited. I brought something for Lucy and Max, she said, pulling out 2 sets of art supplies. Not expensive ones, but good quality colored pencils, sketch pads, and stickers. Kate, you didn't have to do this, Ryan protested. These supplies probably cost her an hour's worth of teaching salary. I wanted to, Kate insisted. Lucy mentioned that she loves to draw, and Max said he wants to learn. I thought they might enjoy these. The twins were thrilled, immediately sitting down on the grass to test out their new art supplies. Ryan watched Kate sit with them, showing Lucy how to blend colors and helping Max draw a dinosaur. You're amazing with them, Ryan said quietly. They're easy to love, Kate replied, ruffling Max's hair. You've raised incredible kids, Ryan. They're kind, curious, and well-behaved. You should be proud. As they sat together on the park bench watching the twins draw, Kate said something that made Ryan's blood freeze. You know, there's something I've been wondering about, she said casually. Yeah? What's that? Yesterday, when your friend called about that business deal, you seemed to know a lot about acquisitions and market presence. That's pretty advanced business knowledge for someone who's been out of work. Ryan's mouth went dry. Kate was looking at him with those intelligent brown eyes, and he could see the questions forming. I read a lot of business magazines, he stammered. You know, trying to stay current for job interviews. Kate nodded slowly. That makes sense. You're clearly very smart. I'm sure you'll find something soon. But something in her tone made Ryan wonder if she believed him. Had he given himself away? Was she starting to piece things together? As they gathered up the art supplies and prepared to leave, Kate's phone buzzed with a text message. Ryan caught a glimpse of the screen and saw numbers with lots of zeros. Good news? He asked. My friend David is trying to help with fundraising for the charity, Kate explained. He's been reaching out to local businesses, seeing if anyone might be willing to sponsor the program. It's a long shot, but we have to try. Ryan's chest tightened. Here was Kate, working so hard to save a program that meant everything to her, while he had the power to solve the problem with a single phone call. The guilt was eating him alive. That night, after putting the twins to bed, Ryan stood in his massive walk-in closet. staring at his expensive suits and his collection of watches worth more than most people's houses. Tomorrow he'd put on his disguise again and meet Kate for lunch. She'd probably ask more questions about his job search and he'd have to tell more lies. But for the first time since this whole thing started, Ryan began to wonder what would happen when the truth came out, because deep down he was starting to realize that it would come out. Kate was too smart not to figure it out eventually, and when she did, would she ever forgive him for lying to her? It was a beautiful Saturday morning, and Kate had suggested taking the twins to Riverside Park for a picnic. Ryan had been nervous about it because this particular park was close to his neighborhood, but Kate had been so excited about the idea that he couldn't say no. Besides, what were the chances anyone would recognize him in his borrowed clothes and old baseball cap? "I packed sandwiches and juice boxes," Kate said cheerfully as they spread out the blanket under a large oak tree. "And I brought bubbles for the kids." Lucy and Max were already running around the playground, their laughter echoing across the park. Ryan watched them with a smile, but his stomach was in knots. The past month of living this double life was catching up with him. Every lie felt heavier. Every moment with Kate felt more precious, and the guilt was becoming unbearable. "You seem tense today," Kate observed, sitting down next to him on the blanket. "Everything okay?" "Just tired," Ryan said, which wasn't entirely a lie. Juggling a billion-dollar company by day and pretending to be unemployed by evening was exhausting. "The job search is getting to me, I guess." Kate nodded sympathetically. "I know it's hard, but something will come up soon, I'm sure of it." That morning, Ryan had closed a deal worth $300 million. By evening, he'd be home in his mansion, maybe taking a swim in his Olympic-sized pool or playing video games with the twins in their massive playroom. But here on this picnic blanket with Kate, he was just Ryan, the struggling single dad, and somehow that felt more real than anything else in his life. "Daddy, Miss Kate, come push us on the swings," Lucy called out. They spent the next hour playing with the twins. Kate was a natural, pushing them high on the swings, playing tag, and even going down the slide herself when Max dared her to. Ryan found himself forgetting about his worries, just enjoying the simple pleasure of a family day at the park. But then, as they were sitting on the grass eating their sandwiches, 6-year-old Lucy made an innocent comment that changed everything. "Miss Kate, do you want to come swimming at our house sometime?" Lucy asked, taking a bite of her peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Ryan's blood turned to ice. Kate looked confused. "Swimming?" Kate asked. "Do you guys have a community pool in your apartment complex?" "No, silly," Max laughed. "We have our own pool. It's huge. You can swim from one end to the other and it takes forever. And there's a hot tub too," Lucy added excitedly. "And sometimes Daddy lets us have pool parties with all our toys." Kate looked at Ryan with raised eyebrows. "You have a pool?" Ryan's mind raced. It's not actually ours. It's at my friend's place. We go there sometimes." But Lucy, in the way that only 6-year-olds can, wasn't done sharing. "What friend, Daddy?" "You mean our house? The one with the big garage with all your cars?" "Cars?" Kate repeated slowly. "Plural?" "Yeah." Max chimed in, oblivious to his father's panic. "Daddy has a red one and a black one and a white one. And the really fast blue one that makes loud noises. The blue one is my favorite," Lucy said dreamily. "It looks like it could fly." Ryan felt like the world was spinning. "Kids, you know how you sometimes imagine things? Maybe you're thinking of cars you've seen in movies." But Max looked genuinely confused. "No, Daddy. Remember yesterday when we couldn't decide which car to take to the store? And you said we should take the quiet one because the neighbors don't like the loud one?" Kate had gone very still. Ryan could practically see the wheels turning in her head. "Daddy travels in airplanes for work too," Lucy added helpfully. "Sometimes he goes far away and brings us presents from different cities." "I thought you said you were unemployed," Kate said quietly. I meant before, when I had my old job." The kids get confused about time sometimes, but even as he said it, Ryan knew how weak it sounded. Kate was a kindergarten teacher. She knew exactly how 6-year-olds talked about time, and this wasn't it. Max, still completely innocent to the tension he was creating, kept talking. "Remember last week when we went to that fancy restaurant for lunch? The one with the man in the suit who knew your name?" "Max," Ryan said quickly, "that wasn't a fancy restaurant." "Yes, it was. Daddy. They had those white napkins that felt soft, and the waiter called you Mr. Ryan and said, 'Welcome back.'" "Sir?" Kate was staring at Ryan now, her sandwich forgotten in her lap. "Mr. Ryan? Like you're a regular customer at a fancy restaurant?" "Kids exaggerate," Ryan said desperately. "And remember the big office?" Lucy said, warming to the subject. "The one high up in the sky where you can see the whole city?" "I love looking out those big windows." "Office?" Kate's voice was barely a whisper. "Daddy's office is so cool," Max said. "It has a big desk and lots of computers, and sometimes we get to sit in his special chair that spins around." Ryan felt like he was drowning. Every word the twins said was digging him deeper into a hole he couldn't escape. "I think there's been some confusion," he started to say, but Kate held up her hand. "Kids," she said gently, "why don't you go play on the monkey bars for a few minutes? Your dad and I need to talk." Lucy and Max ran off happily, completely unaware that they had just blown up their father's entire fake life. Kate turned to Ryan, and her expression was hurt and confused. "Do you want to explain what's going on?" "Kate, I can explain everything. Can you? Because right now your 6-year-old children are telling me you have multiple cars, a pool, a high-rise office, and you travel by airplane for work. But you've been telling me you're unemployed and struggling to make ends meet." Ryan opened his mouth, but no words came out. How could he possibly explain this? "I need some time to think," Kate said, standing up and brushing grass off her jeans. "Kids, come on, let's head home." The drive back to Kate's apartment was silent except for the twins chatting in the back seat, still oblivious to what had happened. When they arrived, Kate got out quickly. "Thank you for the picnic," she said formally. "I'll call you later." But Ryan could see in her eyes that she wouldn't be calling. At least not until she figured out what was really going on. That evening, after putting the twins to bed in their luxury bedrooms in his mansion, Ryan sat in his home office staring at his computer screen. His hand shook as he opened an internet browser. If Kate was as smart as he thought she was, she would be doing exactly what he was about to do. He typed in his own name, Ryan, plus his last name, plus CEO. Hundreds of results popped up immediately. Photos of him at business conferences, articles about his company's latest acquisitions, mentions of his net worth. There was even a recent photo from a charity gala where he was presenting a check for $2 million to a children's hospital. Ryan clicked on one of the articles. "Tech billionaire Ryan Thompson closes record-breaking deal," read the headline. Below was a professional photo of him in an expensive suit, looking nothing like the struggling single dad who had been sharing picnic sandwiches that afternoon. If Kate searched his name, she would find all of this within minutes. Meanwhile, across town, Kate was doing exactly that. She sat at her small kitchen table with her laptop open, feeling like her whole world had been turned upside down. The twins' innocent comments had been replaying in her mind all afternoon. Swimming pools, multiple cars, fancy restaurants, high-rise offices. She typed carefully, "Ryan Thompson, CEO tech company." The search results made her gasp out loud. Page after page of articles about one of the youngest billionaires in the country, photos of him at exclusive events, mentions of his tech empire, estimates of his wealth that made her teacher's salary look like pocket change. Kate stared at a recent photo of Ryan in a tuxedo at some glamorous event. He was smiling the same smile she'd fallen for, but he looked like a completely different person. This wasn't the man who had shared a simple dinner at Danny's diner. This wasn't the guy who drove a beat-up pickup truck and worried about splitting the check. She scrolled through more articles, each one confirming what the twins had accidentally revealed. Ryan Thompson, age 34, CEO and founder of Thompson Technologies, estimated net worth over $500 million. Single father of twins after his wife passed away 4 years ago. Kate's hands were shaking as she read about his penthouse office, his multiple homes, his charitable foundations. Everything was real. Everything the twins had said was true, which meant everything Ryan had told her was a lie. Kate closed the laptop and put her head in her hands. For the past month, she had been falling in love with a man who didn't exist. The struggling single dad, the man who worried about money, the guy who was just trying to make it work for his kids. None of it was real. But what hurt most was that she had believed him. She had opened her heart to him, shared her dreams and fears, even tried to help him find a job. She had bought art supplies for his children with money she could barely afford. She had cooked dinner for him, worried about him, fallen in love with him, and he had been lying to her the entire time. The worst part was thinking about the twins. Lucy and Max weren't lying. They were just being kids sharing their real life with someone they trusted. They had talked about their swimming pool and their daddy's cars because that was their normal. They didn't know their father was pretending to be someone else. Kate thought about the charity program she was trying to save, the $50,000 they desperately needed. She had been losing sleep worrying about those 30 kids who would have nowhere to go after school if the program closed. Meanwhile, Ryan probably spent more than $50,000 on a single car. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Ryan. "Kate, please let me explain." "It's not what you think," but Kate didn't reply. She turned off her phone and sat in her quiet apartment, trying to figure out what she was going to do with this information. Should she confront him? Should she pretend she didn't know? Should she just disappear from his life completely? One thing was certain. Everything had changed. The man she thought she was falling in love with was nothing but an illusion, and Kate had no idea how to handle the truth. Kate stared at herself in her bathroom mirror Monday morning, trying to gather the courage for what she was about to do. She had spent the entire weekend thinking about Ryan's deception, barely sleeping, barely eating. Her small apartment felt even smaller as she paced around, replaying every moment of their relationship in her mind. The man she had fallen for didn't exist. Every dinner, every laugh, every sweet moment with the twins, it had all been built on lies. But the more she thought about it, the angrier she became. Not just hurt, but genuinely angry. How dare he play with her emotions like that? How dare he let her worry about his fake unemployment while she struggled to save $50,000 for kids who desperately needed help? How dare he watch her buy art supplies for his children with her teacher's salary, when he could probably buy the entire art store without thinking twice about it? Kate had made a decision. She wasn't going to confront Ryan in some quiet, private setting, where he could make excuses and try to charm his way out of this. She was going to walk right into his world and face him where he really belonged. At 9:30 a.m., Kate found herself standing outside Thompson Technologies' downtown headquarters. The building was a gleaming glass tower that seemed to touch the clouds, with Ryan's company logo prominently displayed near the top. Everything about it screamed money and power. Kate had dressed carefully for this moment. Instead of her usual casual teacher clothes, she wore her best professional outfit, a navy blue dress and blazer she'd bought for parent-teacher conferences. She carried a leather folder with printed information about her charity's after-school program. To anyone watching, she looked like just another businesswoman with a proposal. The lobby was massive, with marble floors and a ceiling that seemed impossibly high. Kate walked up to the reception desk, her heels clicking on the expensive flooring. "Good morning," she said to the well-dressed receptionist. "I'd like to see Mr. Ryan Thompson about a business proposal." The receptionist, a young woman with perfect makeup and an expensive-looking outfit, looked Kate up and down. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I'm here about a charitable foundation he might be interested in supporting. It's regarding disadvantaged children." Kate knew that mentioning charity and children would likely get her through the door. Rich people, especially ones with kids of their own, usually wanted to maintain a good public image. "Let me call up to his office," the receptionist said, picking up her phone. After a brief conversation, she hung up and smiled. "His assistant says he can spare 15 minutes. Take the elevator to the 42nd floor and speak with Jennifer." Kate's heart pounded as the elevator climbed higher and higher. Through the glass walls, she could see the city spreading out below her, getting smaller with each floor. The twins had been right. From up here, you really could see everything. The 42nd floor was just as impressive as the lobby. Expensive artwork hung on the walls, and the furniture looked like it belonged in a luxury hotel. Kate approached another reception desk where a woman in her 50s sat typing on a computer that probably cost more than Kate's monthly rent. "You must be the woman from the children's charity," the assistant said with a warm smile. "I'm Jennifer. Mr. Thompson is just finishing up a conference call, but he'll see you in just a moment." Kate nodded, trying to keep her expression neutral. Through the glass walls of the corner office, she could see Ryan, the real Ryan. He was wearing an expensive suit that fit him perfectly, standing behind a desk that was bigger than Kate's kitchen table. He was talking on his phone, gesturing with one hand while looking out at the city view behind him. This was Ryan Thompson, CEO and billionaire, not the struggling single dad she had fallen for. "Miss Chen?" Jennifer called. "Mr. Thompson will see you now." Kate walked toward the office, her folder clutched tightly in her hands. As she approached the door, Ryan looked up from his phone call and their eyes met through the glass. The color drained from his face instantly. He said something quick into the phone and hung up, standing frozen behind his massive desk as Kate opened the door and walked in. "Hello, Mr. Thompson," Kate said formally, closing the door behind her. "Thank you for taking the time to meet with me about our charitable program." Ryan's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. He looked completely different in his business environment, more polished, more powerful, but somehow smaller at the same time. "Kate," he finally managed to say, "what are you doing here?" "I'm here to present a business proposal," Kate said calmly, walking over to the chair in front of his desk and sitting down. "Our after-school program serves 30 children whose parents work late shifts. We're facing a funding crisis and need $50,000 to keep operating." She opened her folder and pulled out a neatly organized presentation, placing it on his desk. It was the same information she had been working on for weeks, trying to save the program that meant everything to her. "Kate, please, let me explain." "I'm not finished," Kate interrupted, her voice steady despite the fact that her heart was racing. "As I was saying, we need $50,000. Now, I've done some research on your company, Mr. Thompson, and I believe this aligns with your corporate values." Ryan stared at her, clearly trying to figure out how to handle this situation. Kate could see the panic in his eyes, but she wasn't done yet. "You see," Kate continued, "I've learned that Thompson Technologies has donated millions to various charities over the years. Children's hospitals, education programs, technology initiatives for underprivileged schools. Very impressive, really. Kate, please sit down so we can talk about this properly." "I am sitting down, Mr. Thompson, and we are talking about this properly. This is a business meeting, isn't it?" Ryan came around from behind his desk and sat in the chair next to hers. Up close, Kate could see how worried he looked, how desperate. "I know you're angry," he said quietly. "I know I lied to you, and I know how wrong that was. But please let me explain why." "Why?" Kate repeated, and for the first time, her calm facade cracked a little. "You want to explain why you pretended to be unemployed? Why you let me worry about your fake financial problems? Why you watched me spend money I could barely afford on your children while you're worth more than I'll make in 10 lifetimes? Because I wanted you to love me for who I am, not what I have," Ryan said desperately. "Every woman I've ever dated has only been interested in my money. I wanted someone who would care about me and Lucy and Max as people, not as a bank account." Kate stared at him for a long moment. Then, to Ryan's complete shock, she started laughing. Not a happy laugh, but a bitter, ironic one. "You wanted someone to love you for who you are?" Kate repeated. "That's rich coming from someone who lied about who he was from the very first moment we met. Kate, do you want to know something funny, Ryan?" Kate said, pulling another folder from her bag. "I've been keeping a secret, too." Ryan looked confused as Kate opened the second folder and pulled out several documents. "You see, I've been doing some thinking this weekend. About honesty, about being authentic, about people who pretend to be something they're not." Kate placed a bank statement on his desk. "Take a look at that." Ryan glanced down at the paper and his eyes widened. The account balance showed over $2 million. "What is this?" "My trust fund," Kate said simply. "Money that's been sitting there since I turned 18. I haven't touched a penny of it in years." Ryan stared at her in complete shock. "But you're a teacher. You live in a tiny apartment. You worried about spending money on art supplies for the kids." "Because I choose to live that way," Kate explained. "My family owns Chen Restaurant Group. Maybe you've heard of us? We have over 200 locations across the country. I'm what you might call a millionaire heiress who decided to become a kindergarten teacher instead of joining the family business." Ryan's head was spinning. "But why?" "For the same reason you wanted to pretend to be poor," Kate said. "I wanted to know that people liked me for who I am, not for my family's money. I wanted to make a difference in the world, not just live off someone else's success. I chose to live on my teacher's salary because I wanted to understand what real life was, like for most people. So when you were worried about raising $50,000 for the charity, I could have written that check myself at any time," Kate admitted. "But I wanted the community to come together and support it. I wanted it to be a group effort, not just one rich person throwing money at a problem." They sat in silence for a moment, both processing what had just been revealed. "So we've both been lying," Ryan said finally. "Apparently so," Kate replied. "We've both been pretending to be something we're not." It seems that way. Ryan leaned back in his chair and ran his hands through his hair. This is insane. We've been dating for over a month and we've both been completely fake the entire time. Not completely fake, Kate said quietly. The way you are with Lucy and Max, that's real. The way you listen when I talk about my students, that's real. The way you make me laugh, the way you care about people, that's all real. You're right, Ryan said, looking at her with something like wonder. And the way you love my kids, the way you light up when you talk about teaching, the way you care about helping others, that's all real too. Kate sighed and leaned back in her chair. So what do we do now? We've established that we're both liars who are trying to find authentic love by being completely inauthentic. Ryan couldn't help but smile at that. When you put it like that, it sounds pretty ridiculous. It is ridiculous, Kate agreed. But she was smiling too, just a little. Kate, Ryan said seriously, I know I messed up. I know lying to you was wrong, no matter what my reasons were. But everything I felt for you, everything we shared, that was real. The man you fell for might have been driving a borrowed truck and pretending to be unemployed, but his feelings were completely genuine. Kate looked at him for a long moment. I believe you, she said finally. And I owe you an apology too. I've been just as dishonest as you have. So where does that leave us? Kate stood up and walked over to the massive windows overlooking the city. I don't know, she said honestly. I need some time to think about all of this. To figure out what's real and what isn't. What about Lucy and Max? Ryan asked. They're going to want to know why Miss Kate isn't coming around anymore. I would never just disappear from their lives, Kate said firmly. They don't deserve to be hurt because their father and I are complicated. As Kate walked toward the door, she turned back one more time. You know what the really crazy part is? She said. If you had just been honest from the beginning, I probably would have liked you anyway. Rich or poor, you're still a great father and a good man. You didn't need to lie to win my heart. And if I had known you came from money too, Ryan replied, I never would have been worried about you judging me for mine. Kate smiled sadly. I guess we'll never know what could have been if we'd just been honest from the start. And with that, she walked out of his office, leaving Ryan alone with the truth and the realization that he might have just lost the best thing that had ever happened to him and his children. 2 weeks had passed since Kate walked out of Ryan's office, and those 14 days felt like the longest of Ryan's life. The twins kept asking where Miss Kate was, and Ryan didn't know how to answer them. How do you explain to 6-year-olds that their father had messed up the best thing that ever happened to their little family? Is Miss Kate coming for dinner tonight? Lucy asked for the 5th time that week as Ryan tucked her into bed. Not tonight, sweetheart, Ryan said, his heart breaking a little more each time he had to disappoint them. But why? Max demanded from his bed across the room. Did we do something wrong? Did we make her mad? No, Ryan said quickly, sitting on the edge of Max's bed. You two didn't do anything wrong. Miss Kate loves you both very much. Daddy just made some mistakes, and now Miss Kate needs some time to think. What kind of mistakes? Lucy asked, sitting up in her bed. Ryan sighed. How do you explain lies and deception to children who see the world in simple terms of right and wrong? I wasn't completely honest with Miss Kate about some things, Ryan said carefully. And that hurt her feelings. Did you say sorry? Max asked as if the solution was obvious. I tried to, buddy. Well, did you really mean it? Lucy pressed. Because Mommy always said sorry doesn't count unless you really, really mean it. Ryan's chest tightened at the mention of their mother. Even 4 years later, the twins still remembered things she had taught them. I meant it, Ryan said softly. But sometimes sorry isn't enough. Sometimes you have to show people you're sorry by doing better. Then do better, Daddy, Lucy said simply. Fix it. If only it were that easy. Meanwhile, across town, Kate was having her own struggles. She had thrown herself into her work, staying late at school every day and spending her weekends at the charity trying to solve their funding crisis. But no matter how busy she kept herself, she couldn't stop thinking about Ryan and the twins. She missed Lucy's endless questions and Max's silly jokes. She missed the way Ryan listened when she talked about her students. She missed feeling like part of a family, even if that family had been built on lies. Kate had been doing a lot of thinking about those lies. Yes, Ryan had deceived her about his wealth and job status, but the more she reflected on it, the more she realized she had done the exact same thing. They had both been so afraid of being loved for the wrong reasons that they had hidden their true selves. In a weird way, it was the most honest thing either of them could have done. On Friday afternoon, Kate was cleaning up her classroom when her phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello? Miss Kate?" came a small voice. "Lucy? Honey, how did you get this number?" "I remembered it from when you wrote it down for Daddy. Miss Kate, we need your help." Kate's heart started racing. "What's wrong? Are you okay? Where's your dad?" "We're fine," Lucy said, and Kate could hear Max talking in the background. "But Daddy is really sad and we don't know how to fix it." "Oh, sweetie." He sits in his office and stares out the window. Max's voice came through the phone now, apparently having grabbed it from his sister. "And yesterday I saw him looking at pictures of us at the park with you, and I think he was crying." Kate felt tears welling up in her own eyes. "We know you and Daddy had a fight about something," Lucy's voice returned. "But we love you, Miss Kate. You're supposed to be part of our family." "I love you both too," Kate said, wiping her eyes. "But sometimes grown-ups make things complicated, then make it uncomplicated," Max said with 6-year-old logic. "Just say sorry and hug and make up." That evening, Kate made a decision. She drove to the address she had looked up online. Ryan's real address, not the apartment complex where he had pretended to live. The house was even bigger than she had imagined, a sprawling mansion with perfectly manicured grounds. But somehow it didn't intimidate her anymore. She rang the doorbell, her heart pounding. Ryan answered the door himself, probably expecting a delivery. When he saw Kate standing there, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Kate?"
"What are you doing here?"
"Your children called me," Kate said. "They're worried about you." Before Ryan could respond, Lucy and Max came running to the door. "Miss Kate, you came." Lucy threw herself into Kate's arms. "We knew you would," Max said, hugging her legs. "Kids, go watch TV for a few minutes," Ryan said gently. "Miss Kate and I need to talk. Are you going to make up?" Lucy asked hopefully. "We're going to try," Kate said, smiling at her. Ryan led Kate into his living room, which was about the size of her entire apartment. They sat on opposite ends of a couch that probably cost more than Kate's car. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," Kate said, "about what happened, about the lies we both told, about what's real and what isn't. And I realized something. The man I fell in love with wasn't the guy with the beat-up truck or the fake unemployment story. I fell in love with the father who puts his children first, the man who listens when I talk about my dreams, the person who makes me laugh and makes me feel like I belong somewhere." Ryan leaned forward. "Kate, I'm not finished. Yes, you lied to me about your money and your job, but I lied to you about the same things. We were both so scared of being used for our wealth that we hid it from each other. In a way, we were more honest than we realized." "I've been thinking about that too," Ryan said. "We found something real in the middle of all those lies. The question is," Kate said, "what do we do now? Where do we go from here?" Ryan stood up and walked to the window, looking out at his perfectly maintained garden. "I have an idea about that, actually. But first, there's something I need to show you." He led her to his home office, where his computer was open to a website for Kate's after-school charity program. "I've been working on this for the past 2 weeks," Ryan said. "I didn't just want to write a check and solve the problem. I wanted to do something bigger." Kate looked at the screen and gasped. It was a detailed plan for expanding the after-school program to serve 500 children across the city, with funding for the next 10 years. "Ryan, this is incredible, but it must cost $2 million, Ryan said, "which, as we both know, is nothing compared to what we actually have. But I didn't want to just throw money at it. I want to be personally involved. I want to volunteer to help run it, to make it something we build together." Kate stared at the proposal, tears streaming down her face. "You want to work on this together?" "I want to do everything together," Ryan said, turning to face her. "Kate, I know I messed up. I know lying to you was wrong. But I also know that what we have is worth fighting for." "It is," Kate agreed. "But how do we move forward? How do we trust each other again?" "We start being completely honest," Ryan said. "About everything. No more secrets, no more pretending to be something we're not. Just us as we really are." "That sounds terrifying," Kate said with a small laugh. "It does," Ryan agreed. "But not as terrifying as losing you and having to explain to my kids why Miss Kate isn't part of our family anymore." They talked for hours that night, sharing stories about their real lives, their fears about money and relationships, their dreams for the future. The twins eventually fell asleep on the couch next to them, curled up together like puppies. Over the next 3 months, Ryan and Kate slowly rebuilt their relationship on a foundation of complete honesty. They worked together on the charity expansion, with Kate taking a leave of absence from teaching to help develop the program. They introduced the twins to both of their extended families. They learned to navigate the complicated world of having money while trying to stay grounded and real. But the most important thing they learned was that love isn't about how much money you have or don't have. It's about finding someone who sees you for who you really are and loves you anyway. 6 months after Kate had walked out of Ryan's office, they found themselves back at Riverside Park where everything had started to unravel. This time, though, they were there for a different reason. "Miss Kate," Lucy said as they spread out their picnic blanket, "Daddy says he has something important to ask you." "Oh, really?" Kate said, pretending to be surprised even though she had suspected something was up. "Yeah," Max added excitedly, "and we helped him plan it." Ryan knelt down on the grass next to the picnic blanket, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Kate's hands flew to her mouth. "Kate," Ryan said, his voice shaking with emotion, "I know we did everything backwards. We lied to each other. We kept secrets. We made everything way more complicated than it needed to be. But through all of that, I learned something important." "What's that?" Kate whispered. "I learned that I don't want to spend another day pretending to be someone else, and I don't want to spend another day without you. You make me want to be the best version of myself. You make our family complete." He opened the box to reveal a beautiful but not ostentatious ring. "Will you marry me?" Before Kate could answer, Lucy jumped up. "And will you adopt us too?" "We drew up the papers." Max handed Kate a construction paper document covered in crayon hearts and stick figures. It said, "Adoption papers for Miss Kate to be our mommy forever." Kate laughed through her tears. "Yes," she said to Ryan. "Yes to all of it. The marriage, the adoption, the family, everything." A year later, they had a small wedding in the same park where they'd had that fateful picnic. Instead of expensive gifts, they asked their guests to donate to the after-school program they had built together. Lucy and Max walked Kate down the aisle, beaming with pride. In his vows, Ryan promised to never pretend to be someone else again. In hers, Kate promised the same. They promised to build their life together on honesty, love, and the belief that family isn't about how much money you have. It's about how much you care for each other. And as they kissed as husband and wife, with Lucy and Max cheering beside them, Kate realized that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Even from lies that led to truth and pretending that led to something completely real.